For listening to the show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuddle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. Yeah, it's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
I love it how the listeners are already on it. Hello. Says hello, and then a Lima Charlie to follow it up. My producer Vulture always checks in. I mean, is it a Lima Charlie? Is it loud and clear right now? Because if it is not loud and clear, I need you to let me know. Seriously. Vulture, you gonna give me a Lima? This sucks. All right. Stand by, people. Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. What the fuck is going on? All right. So, does it sound better, people? Vulture, can you give me a Lima Charlie on this deal? All right. So, I'm good. You know what? I'm almost becoming like I'm almost becoming just like comfortable with this. Like, I feel like an abused spouse. I almost feel like this is what is expected. Like, I gotta restart this. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Atomic Citizen 865 says, "Let's roll, Tuddle." I mean, I'm down. Oh, by the way, so when I have a guest that's going to be on, I always create the link early so I can send it to my producer, Vulture. And I did not know this. Whenever I create that link on StreamYard, it already shows up. And I put David Rivera up there. He sent in a super chat, a super sticker. Like, David Rivera is a Marine. Marines are some badass, kick-ass motherfuckers. They are. And David, like every once in a while, will throw me a 20 spot. And I can't thank him enough for that. So, I mean, because he did this at 10:31 a.m. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. The narcissist, Boston in the building. Gonna get a little dunks. In some of the Dunkin' Donuts. Forget about it. How do you like them apples? I mean, you know what? Bowls Dip says it can be humbling to receive support from those you respect. It is. I mean, let's just talk about that. Like, I've been through a lot of shit, and to get a Marine, Semper Fi, I know I always feel weird saying Semper Fi, but for the Marines, for a Marine to give me any recognition to donate money for the dumbass shit that I'm doing every single day, I absolutely love that. I mean, it is a big deal. It is. And this is something that I wanted to talk about. You know, it just wasn't because of David Rivera super chatting and everything. You guys all know, and I shouldn't expect that you all know, but radio is my first well, I wouldn't say it's my first passion, but it is my passion. It is. I love it. It is my way of expressing myself. And I don't want anybody to think that I think that I'm some type of superstar or whatever. I'm not. I know for a fact that I'm not. And, well, call me Michaela. You know what? You bring up a great point. Was baseball your first passion? Call me. It was, and I'm not going to like mince word. Baseball was my first passion. It really was, because it was the one thing that my dad was my coach until I got to high school. And it was one of the things that brought us together. And it was one of the first things that I was actually good at. I loved it. I loved baseball. And I always will. And I'm not even talking about me playing baseball and stuff. I'm talking about watching the Braves, watching the Atlanta Braves on TBS every single day. Me and my dad, we would watch all of those games. And, you know, not to like sell my mom out or sell my mom short. I remember, do you guys remember here in the state of Florida, we would have those half days I got off on a half day on a Wednesday, and I was fortunate enough to watch Kerry Wood strike out 20 plus batters against the Houston Astros. I will never, ever forget that. I'll never, ever forget that I watched that game with my mom. Because back in the day, if you wanted to watch a baseball game, if you were a Cubs fan or a Braves fan, you were fortunate because guess what? The Cubs showed on WGN showed the Cubs games. And TBS showed all of the Braves games. And I will always remember that. Me and my mom, because I think a couple of weeks ago, it was like the 20th anniversary of Kerry Wood striking out 20 plus batters against the Astros. Isn't it funny how when you get older, how some of these memories and stuff just stick in your mind? It's crazy. It really, really is crazy. But yeah, baseball was one of my first passions. But radio, I mean, never in a million years would I have ever thought that I would be doing this, that I would be making any amount of money off of people wanting to hear me talk for a living. Granny loves getting banned. You're absolutely right. The Braves pitching in the 90s was not, yeah. I mean, you had Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine, Avery, Nagel. I mean, who the hell would want to face that lineup, that pitching rotation? Nobody would want to face that. But I mean, I know that I'm being all nostalgic and stuff. But like I have an opportunity right now. I have talked to you guys about this. Like, I've been doing this other job. It is paying me very, very well. It's paying me well. And like I said, radio is my first passion. It's always going to be my first passion. Because it gave me a platform to be able to express myself. Even though that I did not, because in high school, I always like flew right below the radar. I did. And the whole reason why I even got into radio was because I wanted to meet my favorite radio show. My favorite morning radio show. Because I grew up in Volusia County listening to Ron and Ron on WJRR out of Orlando. And then after Ron and Ron broke up, Ron and Fez ended up in Daytona Beach. And I heard that they were doing their show right in Daytona Beach, right off of International Speedway Boulevard and the Intercoastal. And I just wanted to meet them. And I got that chance to meet them. I did. And I fell in love with radio at that point. I absolutely fell in love with radio. And I learned and I fell in love with it because, like I said, I was never one of those people that wanted to be in front of people and be able to talk. I never wanted to be that person that talked for a living that people wanted to hear. I never wanted to be that. And then I was there. Ron Bennington and Fez Whatley, they took me under their wing. They taught me how to be a broadcaster. They taught me about how to respect the game, how to respect what we're doing. And it was like, because like I said, I had no intention of getting into radio. I just wanted to meet my two favorite guys off of my favorite morning show. And I told him I wanted to be an intern. And I just wanted to meet them. And I got that opportunity. And these guys just like made me fall in love with it. I'm just reading some of this stuff. Spice Boys, not sure if you mentioned this yet, but you hear R. Kelly got 30 years. And I'll get into it. I will. In order of favorite pitchers growing up: Nolan Ryan, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Steve Avery. Nolan Ryan is always going to be the GOAT. Like, seriously, Nolan Ryan's always going to be the GOAT. And then you got guys that are just physically intimidating, like Randy Johnson. Randy Johnson was just a specimen. But could you imagine if you would have been able to pit the mind of Greg Maddux into the body of Randy Johnson? That motherfucker would have been unhittable. And say what you want, Greg Maddux is one of the greatest pitching minds in baseball. This guy took notes on the days that he wasn't even pitching, and he absolutely killed it. If you could have put his mind and the body of Randy Johnson or Nolan Ryan, look the fuck out. Seriously. Yeah. I mean, one of the most impressive videos of all time, like Twisted Movie says, Randy Johnson made a pigeon explode. Bowles Dip says it would be 120 mile an hour fastball that tails like a screwball. Seriously, It's the God honest truth. Maddox had a split finger that could do whatever he wanted it to do. That's why I'm saying Maddox was the GOAT. One of the most impressive things that I ever saw in baseball was Greg fucking Maddox threw a complete game shutout on about 85 pitches. He did. Craig Maddox would get ground outs, pop-ups. He placed the ball no matter where it may be. I mean, this guy was a professor when it came to pitching. He was. Granny loves getting banned. He had better numbers than Cy Young. He was just batshit crazy. The Jolly Gator. Do you think today's kids could hit off of old guys back in the day? Fastball and their split balls and stuff like that. I think that they could. I really do. I think they could. Tuddle Mark sharing 100 bits. Thank you, my friend. Dominated entire lineups. Guy made me want to be a pitcher. Yeah, he did, because he was the normal guy. You were like, oh, Greg Maddox can make guys look silly. Yeah, I want to be a pitcher. Yeah, they had all that good pitching, but only one World Series. Trust me. I get the pain. I get the feeling. You're absolutely right. Trust me. The Braves of the 90s should have won more than one goddamn World Series. You're absolutely right. And I can't debate that. I can't debate that at all. I can't. I can't do it. Ramiro Gonzalez writes, did you like the baseball movie that Rosie O'Donnell was in? All right, so let's talk about that. Oh, the Twins. Go Twins. The Twins actually kept the Braves from competing for a couple of those World Series. If I'm just being up front. Tom Delaney comes in with a buck. Thank you, Tom Delaney. Tom Delaney also says, F Vulture. Tom Delaney, I really would like to get you on the show one day to find out, like, what your whole problem is. Like, why do you hate Vulture so much? I don't get it. I mean, Vulture is like my savior. Vulture is my savior. Ramiro Gonzalez writes, did you see Rosie O'Donnell's twin in that baseball movie? No, I did not. But say what you want. A League of Their Own. A League of Their Own is a good movie. It is a good baseball movie. What is the most quotable baseball movie of all time? There are so many of them out there. Bull Durham. Bull Durham has to be one of the most quotable baseball movies of all time. Seriously, I can't think of. I know the major league movies are very quotable. Bull's Dip, I mean, that's a great one. There is no crying in baseball. Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but the kid that was in Rookie of the Year, he was also in all the American Pie movies. The kid that broke his arm and it was, his tendons were too tight. Yeah, that kid was in the American Pie movies. But, like, seriously, though, man, he hit the fucking bull. I mean, there are so many quotes from Bull Durham, so many quotes from Field of Dreams, so many quotes from the Major League movies, For Love of the Game. I mean, I think that's a great thing about baseball in general. I mean, seriously, baseball movies are always a hit. Rookie of the Year. What was the one that involved a Moneyball? Like, seriously, Granny loves getting banned. It says Moneyball. That is a real life story. Brad Pitt. I mean, that is a true ass story. Moneyball is the Oakland Athletics. And one of the things that they said in that whole movie, it was not about buying players. It was about buying runs. Oh, man. I don't, you know what? Bull's Dip. The Sandlot. Seriously, is there more? Could there be more of a more perfect movie? The Sandlot is a perfect movie. I'm sorry. I don't know why that it took me that long, but The Sandlot is a pretty, I mean, I'm not even going to say pretty, it's a goddamn great movie. The Sandlot is. I mean, that's a great movie. Anyways, I'm waiting for my guest to show up. I mean, all right, hold on. Are you fucking kidding me? My guest, I said, because I messaged him at 6:37. I said, looking forward to chatting with you tonight. He said, me too. Not like the whole woman's right thing. He just said, me too. Then he also wrote, kind of lost track of time, having a quick dinner. And right after that, I might run a couple of minutes late. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. He is messaging something right now. Let's see what he has to say. Let me see if he's going to make it. I'm sorry, but I mean, I kind of think, I mean, that's kind of what's great about this show. This show that I can just do it on a whim. and just bullshit with you guys. So let's see if my guest does show up. If I'm being honest, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of gonna lose my shit. Sushil is gonna be my guest tonight. Just waiting on him. Hopefully he does show up. Because I'm kind of caught in a little bit of a rock and a hard place right now. Because I could get into a story right now. You know what? I'm just going to get into a story. I know that yesterday that I told everybody I wasn't going to get into political bullshit.
Tremendous slap on my back or banging on my back.
This
I didn't know what
Rudy Giuliani thing.
All of a sudden, I felt this tremendous slap on my back
absolutely
or banging on my back. I didn't know what it was.
Completely crazy. Like, how can we? And this is not about who supports who or whatever it may be. And what this guy did was wrong. I'll admit that. It was wrong. What this guy did was wrong. When you put your hands on somebody, you're in the wrong. You just are. But for Rudy Giuliani, who I used to like at one time, I used to like this guy because of what happened after 9/11. I was like, you know what? This is a great guy. But this is just complete bullshit. It is.
All of a sudden, I felt this tremendous slap on my back.
No, you didn't. No, you did not. You did not. You did not. Hold on. I just got to but Rudy, you did not. You did not. Like, let's be honest.
Or banging on my back. I didn't know what it was.
The 78-year-old says the smack almost knocked him off his feet.
It did not. Seriously, I'm not even going to let this play out. This motherfucker is being the biggest bitch in the world.
And was followed by a verbal assault.
They were curse words and kind of threats. It seemed to have to do with abortion, you know, with the fact that...
you know what? We're fucked in this country. We are. All right. Hold on. You know what? This really pisses me off. My guest is actually telling me I don't have a link to join. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, seriously. I'm to the point right now, like, I know that Vulture, I know he does, but can you please just fucking send it to him so I have him on the show? I'm getting to the point where, like, I don't even want to have guests on anymore. Seriously.
He thinks women are going to die. He looked either inebriated or under the influence of drugs.
Get the fuck out of here. He looked, because I have the video. I have the video of what happened. This is the biggest just line of bullshit that I have ever heard. I think Rudy is just the biggest scumbag, politician, lawyer, whatever it may be, because this is absolutely nothing. Now, should the guy have touched Rudy? No, he shouldn't have.
And he wouldn't stop.
He wouldn't. He touched you once.
So a number of the security people came over.
Hold on. I got Sushil. What up, Sushil? How are you?
Hey,
Hey,
what's up?
Man, you got a great ass microphone there.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so hold on. Let me get through this story. Are you familiar with this story?
I see Rudy Giuliani in the studio.
Yeah, Rudy is claiming that he got assaulted, but it was a guy just patting him on his back and everything. So I'm gonna finish up this story and we'll get into the interview. Okay?
Sure.
Restrained him. And I said, call the police.
Police say it happened just before 3:30 p.m. and the 39-year-old ShopRite associate was taken into custody. Shortly after the alleged assault, Andrew Giuliani, who is running for the Republican.
By the way, Andrew Giuliani lost. He lost his election that he was trying to get elected for. So fuck him. That's all I gotta say. And
These guys are mental, though.
What's that?
They're mental, though. The Giulianis.
Yeah, I mean, but if I'm being honest, I actually liked Rudy right after 9/11 because I thought he handled the whole situation pretty well.
Yeah, he was America's mayor back then, and then I don't know, it just went downhill from there.
Yeah, man, it's bad. And Sushil, like, here, let me hear you say, because I don't want to offend you, because in the email and the thing you sent out, it's sushi with an L at the end of it.
It is correct.
Sushil?
Sushil.
Sushil.
Yeah.
Sushil. So Sushil. Like, I mean, this is right, but Sushil, like, I can't talk about anything when it comes to politics anymore because we're so divided in this country. It drives me fucking crazy.
It's not just the US, it's pretty polarized all over. Even India is very divided. That's my home country, and I'm in Canada now. And
because I do want to talk, because I'm very familiar with the India culture and stuff. I talked to my good friend Amy Sinha. What is it about India? Last names are very important. Like I've talked to a lot of people, and they were like, they can tell from the last name. They're like, oh, that's somebody from a good family or whatever. Like, do the last names mean something?
So, I mean, ironically, I don't have a last name. I'm from South India, a state called Tamil Nadu. So there, what we do is we don't do last names. We take our father's name. We take our father's name as a last name. So I'm Sushil Ganesh because my dad was Ganesh.
Ganesh.
Yeah.
And man, so we'll get into this. Let me get into the rest of this, and we'll get into it.
Republican nomination for governor.
You know what? Fuck Rudy Giuliani. I want to get into this. Sushil, how are you, my friend? Sushil, right?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I moved to Canada a few months ago, and a new country, and I've been moving a lot during the pandemic, I would say. I was in Seattle for a few years, and
how was Seattle?
I liked it. Very hippie vibe, I would say. That
you know what? You know what? You brought it up. I mean, it's a very liberal city. Very hipsterish. Yeah, I mean, when I say hipster, I mean, you know what I'm talking about when I say hipster, right? Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, like, what were your thoughts on Seattle?
So I would say that it's very gentrified now. I don't know what it was like before I moved there, but it's a very strong tech city, and I
Mm,
used to be in tech as well, and then I quit my job in 2020. But I would say that the summers are beautiful, unmatched. I've not seen like such amazing summers anywhere in the world, but it gets really down in the winters with the really overcast conditions. And culture wise, I like it. It's very artsy, and I like the comedy scene over there when I used to do comedy.
yeah.
And I feel like the dating scene was not very diverse, I would say. It was mostly
Did you
white.
have any luck?
Yeah, I mean, I used
Oh, you
to
did? I mean,
date
did you
quite a
bag
bit in
some,
Seattle.
did you bag some, because everybody in the 90s, because I'm a 90s kid, a Gen Xer,
Hmm.
the whole grunge scene, like Nirvana and all that stuff, all originated from the Seattle area. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, were you able to hook up with any of those Gen Xer type people? No.
So not really. I mean, I'm millennial, so Gen X would be like before my
Too
time.
old for you? Don't act like it. Don't act like you would not hook up with a Gen Xer type woman, Sushel. Like,
No, I mean,
cheers.
I would be more like, so when I dated, I would be more towards like having a relationship, proper kind of, go through
I
that
gotcha.
channel.
Okay. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. How old of a guy are you?
I'm 33 now.
33. Okay.
Yeah. And
Now,
I lived in Seattle for 4 years.
all right. So hold on. Let me stop what's going on. I want to promote what you got going on. Tell my audience and stuff a little bit about yourself and how they can check out your content.
For sure. So I am a tech nerd turned multi-passionate creator, and I love creating in different modalities. I'm a visual artist, and you can check out my art on Instagram at the Art Conduit. And I'm also a podcaster like Tuddle, and I do a weekly mental health podcast where I talk about trauma, shame, addictions,
Wow.
depression, anxiety, heavy emotions, and with some experts or people who have some expertise in the field. It's called Heal with Sushil.
I need to I'm gonna listen to your podcast now because that's right up my alley. It really,
Yeah,
really because I've dealt with a lot of trauma growing up, and I really do think that the mental health here in the United States is not talked about enough. It's not taken seriously enough.
yeah, and that's for sure. And even mine like got pretty intense. Like coming back to Seattle, it's a city that gets you down. If you don't see the sun for many many days, I feel like it has a cumulative effect where seasonal affect depression kicks in, and each year is the same. And I feel like I was also going through a very rough patch in my life when I left Seattle. And after giving it time and therapy and, using different modalities of addressing trauma, I feel
What
now
do, what
I'm in a better place.
what do you mean by you were dealing with stuff? Like, I mean, are you comfortable talking? Like, what do you mean, like stuff you were dealing with?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, Seattle pot is legal. Unlike Florida, is it legal? I don't know.
It's medical. We have medical. It's not recreational.
Okay, so basically, you can go to the doc and say, I'm not feeling good, and he'll give you a license, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know, but in Seattle, it's legal. It's like grocery shopping,
Mhm.
so it became very, very strong part of my life. It was very entrenched in. When you talk about hippies, I would probably be up there in terms of pretty much
Mm.
wake and bake for a long time, and I continued this as if it was normal for quite a long time. Like I was going to
Mhm.
work, I'd come home, get high. It was just like a cycle for me.
Yeah.
And after some time, I kind of assessed what's happening with my life, and I realized that I'm actually very depressed. Like this is not normal behavior. If I just
Mhm.
wake up in the morning and like light my bong right under the vent for the
Mhm.
the stove,
Yeah, I get it.
I would just yeah. I mean, if people do it and it helps them, good for them. But I just felt like this is not sustainable for me. And once I started wanting to get sober and
Mhm.
work through this, I noticed that there was a lot of unaddressed emotion. There was a lot of repressed emotions that were coming up. And I realized that I want to get past this. I want to figure out why I feel like shit all the time.
Yeah.
Why I feel unworthy, why I have like feelings of shame, guilt, and all these heavy emotions that we talked about.
No, no. So can I just want to back up a little bit, okay? So the Indian culture from India and stuff. There's a lot of pressure from what I've seen from parents on their children, their sons, especially sons and stuff. Do you think that had anything to do with some of the pressure? And I could be way off basis by asking that, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't.
So, yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that, Tuddle. And you're somewhat on the money with that. Like, there is a lot of pressure and expectations from Indian parents. I feel Indian parents feel like their children are direct extensions of them, and
Mhm.
whatever the children do reflects on them directly. So, if I were to, I don't know, be a stripper or something, then
It would
it
be
would
an
bring.
embarrassment. They would feel like it was a bad reflection on them, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So I felt, fortunately, I mean, I didn't feel the same pressure when it comes to things like marriage or,
Mhm.
like having to date an Indian person
Did
or
you
be in a
did
relationship.
did your parents ever, like, try to set you up with somebody? Like, I know that does happen. Did you ever feel that type of pressure?
No, I didn't. In fact, I don't know if they were uh, just lazy or they were technologically challenged, but they never signed me up for like the arranged marriage website. They
Mm.
didn't do like, here are a few girls for you to look at stuff. Usually there's a website, by the way. It's a dating website which is for arranged marriage.
Wait,
Okay.
for, like, the Indian culture or just arranged marriages in general?
Uh, I think it's for the Indian culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of racist as well because I mean they removed the filters because
Wait,
at
what do
one
you
time,
mean?
right?
What do you mean? What do
At
you
one
mean by
So you can filter by caste,
Mhm.
economic status, whatever, height, weight, blah blah. It also says there are like filters for like what is their body type, and there is also a
Mhm.
filter for like skin color, like
Mhm.
oh, are you fair skin, light skin, wheatish, dark skin? And they took it out recently, like in the last 2 to 3 years. But it used to be when I was using the app, it used to be
Mhm.
there.
So, I gotta ask you that because I mean that does happen in the African American community where, like, there is, you know, I don't even know if you can call it racism, but you look at, lighter skin in your culture and darker skin. Does that happen in the Indian culture? It really
For sh-
does?
Without a doubt. I could
Really?
write, yeah, I could write a book on this because I used to be considered like dark skinned. I know. I mean, it's funny for a white person. It's like, oh, you're all brown.
No, 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 no. But I know what you're talking about because,
Yeah,
like, my friend Amy that I talked to, Amy Sinha, like, it is true. Like, there's different, like, and I know it makes me sound bad by saying, but there's different, like, shades of cultures. Is
50
that
Shades
is
of
that
Brown.
bad to say?
I just said 50 Shades of Brown, as you would think.
But like, I mean, that does happen in the Indian culture, correct?
It does. And in fact, they used to be like, they still are. They just rebranded them, but there are like fairness creams in India. Like these creams which claim that if you apply them for like 6 weeks or 12 weeks, they will kind of make your skin whiter. And yeah, and people buy this shit like,
Crazy.
Yeah, there was a cream called Fair and Lovely, and it's so fucked up. Can I curse here?
Yeah, no, yeah. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck this. Yeah. So,
So it was
yeah.
so fucked up. The girl on the box, right? She
Mm.
goes from like very dark brown to light skin, and the expression of her face changes from like very sad to very happy, and I'm on crack happy. That's what the.
I mean, that would
That's messed up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be. So let me ask you. So when you decided to go in the direction that you have decided to go into, your passion and everything, what did your family have to say about that?
So, I mean, there was a lot of pushback. There was some pushback, but ultimately, I was saying, right, I was at such a difficult phase in my life, like depression-wise, and all the anxiety, and I was not really functional in my previous role. I was taking time for like medical leave for like mental health, and I just it was such a weird place to be because I couldn't go back to India because my visa was I had to renew my visa and I was not getting any dates over there,
Yeah.
and the pandemic had just started, so it was a very rough phase, and I felt like I wanted to end being in this career because it was just not aligned with what I wanted to do. And they were very understanding. They said that, okay, yeah, you can quit the job, come back home, and figure it out. Don't worry about anything. And I must commend my parents for it. They weren't as controlling, or they weren't as
Were they supportive?
they were supportive. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there is like some amount of ego. There's some amount of like with Indian culture, boundaries is a difficult topic. We're not able to like have like boundaries with our parents, and there's a certain level of. My mom would sometimes bring up the topic of me getting a day job because she's worried about me and what'll happen. And I mean, I don't know. I think my mom pictures me as a homeless guy in 2 years.
So are Indian moms more dotting? You know what I mean by that than Indian fathers? Like Indian
Maybe
mothers
they have.
want their sons to be happy. Like they want to be more involved and stuff. Does that make sense, or am I off basis by saying that?
It is kind of true in terms of. I mean, I don't know. Like it's like I don't know if you've seen like Andrew Schulz to stand up. He did a bit about like, I think he was roasting an interracial couple, and the girl was Indian, and she was, dating. I don't know if it outside her race, and then he asked her, "Your parents are okay with this?" And then he says, "Oh yeah, they should be. You're a girl, and they don't give a shit about you."
Yeah, I mean, so but is there more pressure? So like you growing up, were you the only son, or like did you
No,
have siblings?
I have an older sister, and
Right. So who had more pressure put on them, you or your sister?
it's a tough question. I mean, it's tough to assess because I would feel like if we got poor grades or something, then there would be like a lot of arguments and fighting in the house. So I was always like scared, and I felt like the pressure to not fuck up was very strong right from a young age. Like failure was unacceptable, so I would always be getting good grades, wanting to be top of the class, wanting to be good at everything. And ironically, what happened was this kind of lifestyle where you're like the first in everything when you're a kid, it doesn't prepare you for life. If you
No,
don't have room to
because you
fuck up,
can't win at everything. You can't win at everything in the future. You just can't, not in regular life. And I think sometimes failure when you're younger prepares you to deal with everyday life.
100%. And I I can't elaborate that point enough. Like if I would have fucked up when I was like growing up a lot more,
Mhm.
I might not have had this big kind of change in career, or like big rebellion in my life, or this quarter
Mhm.
life crisis is how I feel. But I am grateful that it happened in a way, because a lot of people just accept the status quo as if it's all right, but it was so difficult for me that I had to break out of it. And I
Mhm.
like this model of going about it, making mistakes, learning, and doing the
That's how
best I
you're gonna
can.
learn. That's how
That's
that's how
how,
you're
yeah.
gonna learn. Um, and if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But I mean, you talk about trauma growing up. Like, is just the pressure, the expectations of your parents part of that trauma, or did something happen?
I mean, I don't want to get into it too much, but my upbringing was somewhat dysfunctional.
Mhm.
So there was like not a very,
Well, whatever you feel comfortable talking about.
yeah.
Like, because I have mine. I'm not completely open about it, but like I just wanted to ask. So whatever you feel comfortable talking about.
Yeah. And like, I feel to some degree, I feel like, like my parents met like one time before they got married, a
So
total
did
of
your
one time.
parents, was it an
Yeah.
arranged,
It
like it
was an
was?
arranged marriage. Yeah.
Well, can
And
we talk about that just a little bit? Have they talked to you about that? Like, so your mom and your dad met, like, were their families like friends with each other? Like, how did that work out?
no, I think what happened was my mom's brother-in-law, her sister's husband,
Mhm.
he knew, like, he knew about like this potential match through a friend or some family member,
Yeah.
and he said that, oh, you could check this person out. And what my dad had going in for him at the time was that he strictly said that when we get married, we won't be staying with my parents. I will be getting a place of my own through the company. And yeah, so
What did
it
your dad
was
do? What did your dad do?
he was when they met, he was a flight attendant for Indian Airlines.
Wow. I mean, that's got to
Yeah,
be a good gig, right? Like, I mean, that's got to be a good job at that time.
it was, but it was also very, very demanding. And like I feel
Was he
um,
gone all the time?
he was gone a lot. And I feel like even the work hours, like they would just like get up at 3 a.m. for a flight, or 4 a.m., 5 a.m., anytime. And sometimes he would have to like spend like days in hotel rooms and be gone a lot. So it was very difficult to have like a regular family life with a dad who's always traveling. And I feel like some there was this, some part of me was craving that, why can't I have like a normal relationship with my dad
With
and
your dad,
whatnot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe, I mean, did that make you want to have, did that make you have more of a relationship with your mother, with your dad
uh,
being gone all the time?
I
Maybe.
think so. And maybe like in the Indian culture, or at least like from my parents culture, I think what would happen more often would be like the father would be the provider,
Mhm.
and the mom would be the homemaker. So the kids would spend a lot more time with their moms. I don't think the concept of daycare and whatnot
No,
was.
but I mean, I mean, what you're describing is exactly what I had growing up. My dad was not a chauvinist. He was not a guy that said, "Oh, you're a woman, you need to stay home, cook,
Mhm.
clean, take care of the kids and stuff." But my dad worked extra hours. My dad worked extra hours so my mom could stay home, because I'm an only child. My
Got
mom
it.
my mom stayed home with me until I got to the age that I could drive and take care of myself and stuff. And then she went back to work. But my dad thought it would be the best chance for success in my life for my mom to be home with me. Does that make sense?
No.
Uh-oh. Hello? Hello? Sushil. Oh, man. What the hell?
I kind of
Yeah, I
got
got you
disconnected.
now. Yeah, I got you now. I got you now. So, but
So
what I
as
was
I was saying,
I mean,
yes,
what I said, does that make sense?
it does, because my dad also gave the same option to my mom. Was like, if you don't want to work after you have kids, then
Oh, man.
you're okay. It's okay. I can kind of like take this role. And my mom was a teacher before she had us, and she decided that maybe she wants to like dedicate more time to raising children and being a homemaker.
Yeah.
So yeah, by that effect, as you said, both of us had like more time with our moms, and I think that's probably why the mom has a stronger influence in a person's life when. Yeah, I don't know if for
No,
your
yeah,
original question was if it was like if she has a stronger influence in a man's life, right?
yeah.
And maybe, I don't know. It's there is this perception that in Indian culture that the girl, right, she becomes part of a different family,
Mm,
and she marries and becomes part of a different family. It is changing. It is not the case in
mm,
at least in my immediate family. We don't have the perception, I think, but I feel in a lot of rural places and in a lot of places where uh, there's not enough education, they feel like
mm.
the girl is basically going to leave us, so they invest a lot in the guy.
Oh, I get you. I get you. Now, I gotta ask you this. So Americans, they base a lot of their perception on movies and stuff. Well, here, for example, like Slumdog Millionaire, like that movie, everybody's like, "Oh, that's the Indian culture, no matter what." And I'm just like, "Are you kidding
Mm.
me? It's Hollywood, it's Hollywood bastardized and stuff." But what is the one thing when it comes to how the Indian culture is portrayed in film or TV and stuff that you see that you're like, "Oh man, that's bad."
So I would say, okay, Slumdog was very sensationalized, like people
I
dancing
know it
in
was.
trains and everything.
I know it
Yeah,
was.
and I hate the title. I mean, it's just very racist sounding.
Did you see the movie Lion? I mean,
Lion. No, I will tell you, Lion is a much better movie on that
I
topic. It is
love
so authentic.
same actor from Slumdog was in
Yes.
Lion. Now, explain that to me a little bit. Like Slumdog was a little bit more sensationalized, but
Mhm.
Lion just felt more real. And I don't know anything about the Indian culture.
Yeah, and Lion was so raw and so real. It moved me to tears. There are kids like that in India.
Mm,
There are kids who like, I mean, there's, I don't know, I mean, in the US or in Canada, children won't be in the streets, right? CPS or something takes them,
yeah.
or
Mm,
yeah. I mean, there's this, like, that's also like they also have a tough time. They go through the foster home systems and grow up with a lot of trauma, and that's a different can of worms. But it is very difficult. Like, I stayed in India for 25 years of my life, and yeah, I grew up there, and I would say, although I was not um, super wealthy or something, my family was middle class. I never faced those circumstances. In fact, my dad lived in a slum growing up.
I did.
Yeah, he kind of bootstrapped himself and got himself out of there. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And I am very privileged to have never like gone without a meal, whatnot. Yeah, maybe like some things would have been missing. I didn't have a room of my own when I was growing up, or like we lived in a one bedroom and whatnot. But still, I went to an English speaking school. I got like a good education and all of that. So I'm fortunate, but there's a lot of kids who don't get like the basic necessities even.
But that Lion movie, though, is it kind of like that? That it is so overpopulated sometimes, or just like, you don't know where you're at, or you're not, like accustomed to being out of that you would just lose complete track of where you're from.
But he
And
was a kid, right? He was like
yeah,
what,
he
3 or
was a
4 years
small
old.
kid. So, that's a thing where maybe he didn't know exactly where he is. But I mean, you look at India, and a lot of these cities are I want to go to India one day in my life, because it just seems like a beautiful country. It does. Like,
Mhm.
I want to go there, but then you look at it like he didn't even know where he was from in that movie.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, like it's not like I go to the grocery store and forget where I'm from.
No, I know that.
But it is very very populated. I would say that I've only like removed from India for like quarter of my life. Okay,
Mm,
but still, when I go back, it's an adjustment sometimes because
mm.
uh, when you're in Canada, there's like fewer people, and if you're in like public transport or something, it's not as smushed. Traffic is not as bad, and it does get difficult to go back. But I would say that still like what happens is when you're from a place, you
Mm.
have that sense of community that even after I go back for like after like 2 years or like 5 years or something, there's always
Community
someone.
is a pride as well too.
Yeah, someone always recognizes me, and like they say, "Oh, where have you been? It's been a while since I saw you," and
Mm.
it's home.
How have the Canadians been? Like, I mean, very accepting,
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say
cool.
Canada.
Because there's a lot of the only reason I ask, here in America, we got a lot of very racist people. We got a lot of judgmental people. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm basically generalizing. You see what I'm saying? So I probably shouldn't do that. But it does
No,
happen.
I get that. It's true, but there's that kind of those kind of people everywhere. I mean, there's if you find like I mean, by volume, there'll be fewer in Canada because the population is 1/10 of the U.S. But I'd say there are racist people in India. I just said right, Fair and Lovely, fairness cream, that's
Mm.
racist. There are like racist people in Canada. I mean, that's just the way of the world. It's just ignorance. It's like people need to, when people grow up in like silos, where like, let's say if you grew up where everyone is white for the first 20 years of your life and you've seen a black person at age 20, then
Any
you'll
black
probably
people
not.
in India? Any black people in India?
Yeah, there are, and they face
Oh,
racism.
they do.
So what happened was in the 1600s or so, there was an East African community that immigrated to India by boat. So they settled in India, and they're called the Siddhi community. But what happens is when they go in trains and everything, they face like the same challenges in terms of people tell them that this is not your country and all of that based on the color of the skin.
I gotta ask you now, please. I'm not trying to be a shock jock. I'm not trying to stir up stuff here when I'm gonna ask this question. But there's a lot of Pakistani people that own places here in the county that I live in. And every time I talk about India, it's always like, what is the I don't want to say hate, but just differences between India and Pakistan?
There is hate, I would say.
There
In
is.
terms,
Okay.
there is. I mean, some people do hate each other, and uh, it's
I'm not trying to
it's
put you
weird.
on
I would
the
say that
spot
I'll tell
here.
you the problem was right. What happened was the way Pakistan was born
Mhm.
was a very very violent and tragic and traumatic event in the history of our country. What happened was when we won independence from the British,
Mhm.
the British fucked us over like
I
royally.
love
We were like,
curry, by the way. When I went to Great Britain, I went to United Kingdom. I always wondered why they love curry, and I got to tell you, I fell in love with it. I love it.
Yeah, but to come back to this point was that
All right.
they sowed the seeds of disharmony. Like
Mm.
their policy was like divide and conquer. So what they would do is like they started sowing the hatred between Hindus and Muslims, like right from the 1600s and stuff. And the seed of disharmony kept like amplifying as time went on. And there was always this strong sentiment of not getting along between the Hindus and the Muslims. And what happened was Pakistan was promised as a completely Muslim nation, and a lot of people bought into that promise. And what happened during the partition was a lot of millions of people were displaced. Hundreds of millions of people were displaced. Like people in Pakistan, they moved across the border, and people in India moved across to Pakistan. And both sides lost like millions of lives. There's a slaughter, complete slaughter. People were like raping and murdering like left, right, and center. And the concept of India and Pakistan is born from a very violent event, and this wound is still fresh in a lot of people's minds. And what happens is the politicians, as you know, they're fuckers. I mean, like, see what Trump did to the US, right? He came alongside it. He didn't come along and make the gap wider. He just kind of took advantage of that. There was like disharmony between the left and the right, and he actually fractured it a lot more because he saw an opportunity. Similarly, the politicians do that in India as well, like pit Hindu versus Muslim, and there's always this hatred that they're not us versus them, and that's predominantly like ignorance and people taking advantage of, and people programming you that this other human being is your enemy. That's the root cause of most of this. And if you look at even like Palestine and Israel, same problem. Like, yeah. And
yeah, you got to look at both sides, right? I mean,
you have to.
Yeah, it is. All right, Sushil. I really enjoyed this conversation, and
me too.
I would love to have you on again. I'm sorry if it got a little too deep or a little too serious. I do apologize.
No apology needed. I feel like that's what conversation is, right? You meet someone new, and you let go of expectations of what is going to unfold, and that's the beauty of meeting a new person.
Before I let you go, tell my audience, the supporters of the Tuddle Daily podcast, how they can check out any of your content. If you ever you need a very Caucasian American to be a guest on your podcast, I'm always down for it. Okay,
for sure.
So tell my audience how they can check out any of your stuff.
Yeah, so you can check out the podcast at healwithsushil.com. It's on all major podcasting platforms through distribution. And I also am on Twitter at Sushil Ganesh 17. That's my first name, last name, followed by the number 17. And as I mentioned earlier, my art is usually on Instagram at The Art Conduit. But yeah, it's been so much fun. I mean, the topics were heavy,
really
but
good, man. Your art is really good. Like I saw some of this stuff.
Thank you.
Like, oh man, like I'm gonna have this very artistic dude on my show tonight, and I feel like I'm gonna be out of place because I'm some dumb Southern Florida cracker.
Why would you say that? No.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, come on, man. I just was like, oh, this guy's cultured, and
no, but like you're creative, as in like you're doing something that no one else can do. Okay, I do art that I do, but you're doing a podcast every day, right? It's a daily podcast. How many people?
I do it Monday through Friday. Hell, for a long time, I was doing it even on Saturdays and Sundays, man. This is like my passion. This is what I do. I just like getting on and talking to people. I just like talking. I like meeting
amazing.
new people. I think that I think that's one of the things that we take for granted as people, just meeting new people. How many times have we walked down the street and not said hello to somebody or just started a conversation with somebody that was a stranger?
It doesn't happen very often. And we're so caught up in our own stuff, we ignore half of humanity when we were walking down the street. And you're right. Like I couldn't do this, to be honest. You say that oh, I'm artistic and everything, but I can't do what you do. I can't do a daily podcast, or I can't do a Monday to Friday podcast, and you still do it, and that is commendable in itself.
If I'm Sushil, if I'm just being honest, like I know it doesn't make sense. I fucking hate this. Like but this is good for me. Do you see what I'm saying? Like growing up, I was not that person that just talked for a living. That because most nights I do this show by myself, just talking about things. I don't like take phone calls. It's just me, just kind of bullshitting about things, and it's good for me. I love it. I need it because I don't think I would be as mentally healthy as I am right now if I didn't have this.
Yeah. And if it makes you happy, then keep doing it, right? I mean, that's the idea. I mean, if you're even if you paid like a lot and you hate what you do, then you'll be miserable.
Man, but money does make things a lot more, like it does give you more freedom. It sucks that we live in that society or that stuff that we got to work and everything. You know how they always say money doesn't buy you happiness. No, it doesn't, but it does buy you freedom to be able to do
It does
what
buy
you
you
need.
freedom. And 100%, I would say that quitting my job without a plan was still like one of those decisions that stings. But you have to have faith in yourself, that you'll do something, or we have, as a species, we've been around for 200,000 years. It's not like we don't know how to survive, right?
Yeah. But
So
I also think that we have a I could get in. I'm not even going to get into it because we would be talking for another 20 minutes.
I mean, I don't have any other plans. If you could talk if you want.
No. But I'm already look, I could, and that's why I want to have you on again, because I could talk to you for quite some time about other topics. So, Sushil, I really enjoyed this, man. I hope you have a great night. And
I hope you do too. And thank you for reaching out and making this happen.
No, man, I'm gonna follow you on all the social media and stuff, and I wanna keep in touch with you. Okay.
For sure.
All right, man.
Cool.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed tonight's show. Hopefully, you stay safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow.